Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds great.
It sounded like a telenova. I mean,
Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel. And let's have equal rights for everybody.
This is Jenny James Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Christian Cano, you're the co-host. My buttons are Moms Men Action, Gun Sense Legislation, Healthcare for All, Medicare for All, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Good morning, everybody. It is April 5th already. We have gone through a practice of recording in advance, but it is April 5th if you're seeing this for the first time on our release date. And this is Coffee and Pan Dulce, and there was some pretty upbeat little music there, you know.
I actually like that song. It's kind of an older song, but we've had Dr. B on the show several times, and his bucket list thing, he's learning to play the banjo. And I told you that my bucket list is I want to learn how to play the accordion. That's one of the songs that I'd love to play the accordion to, because it's like, it's I don't know.
I think it would almost pay to see that. I don't know. We've never talked about music as far as just performing music.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. I know that you're a more capable human being. I know that you could learn the accordion pretty easily. But there'd be something about you playing the accordion that I'm not sure. I think I'd be crying. I'd be laughing so hard because
it would be.
I mean, you're a big old queen, and I could just see you just like swaying. And I mean, I know if you do it, you're going to do it with a lot of flair. There's like going to be,
that's right.
Look at all the little tchotchkes that are on the screen right now, and
I'm changing my background, so for those who are listening, you can't see what just happened. Yeah, that's right.
But 100%, I would die just to see you just like squeezing the little squeeze button thingy.
I'm so glad you have so much faith in me. But happy April, by the way.
The accordion.
Happy April.
I think it would be absolutely hilarious. I'd love to see you do it on the show if you do it. Yeah. But anyway, it is Happy April, and if you're seeing this, this is for the Christian calendar. This is the Holy Week.
Holiest week of the year.
We would have had Palm Sunday behind us. Yep. We're in the middle of the week. We have Easter coming up and Good Friday and all the stuff. But
all of them.
I used to
what is it? Something Wednesday, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, something Saturday.
Monday, Thursday.
And then he rises.
Yeah. And then
I don't mean to make laugh, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. But anyway,
this is gonna be good. This is gonna be a very interesting show, Jenny. I can tell already. This is gonna be.
I'm loaded for bear on this topic. people, if they've watched this show, they know how I feel about religion.
Yeah,
in general.
that's why it's going to be a good show. I can tell already.
And
so, yeah. So as Jenny said, Jenny, looks like you and I are going to be carrying the show today. Barbara is unavailable, but we may actually have a guest pop in. I hope we do. A former host of ours, Mama Ruth. So it'll be interesting to see if she's able to join us during the taping. If not, then it was exciting.
It is what it is.
To be on. Yeah, it is what it is. So, Jenny, I don't know. Did you tell people what the name of this show is yet, or should I?
No, I was not going to steal your thunder. I know you're.
Welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce.
No, I already said the name of the show, but I didn't know if you were gonna. I didn't know if you were going to say the topic of today's show.
Oh, okay, yeah. I haven't got to that part. So yeah, let me do my rehearsal lines. Okay, so okay. Thank you for those who joined us on Facebook Live, and also those who joined us on YouTube, and the thousands who now listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. How was that?
Perfect.
Well, salute to our neighbors. Barbara's not here, so whatever you're drinking this morning, salute to your neighbors. I'm drinking coffee. Today's topic is going to be very exciting. It's called Was Jesus Real? So we will be talking about for the next 50 minutes. And as Jenny said, thank you, Jenny, for reminding people. When this drops, it's what in the Christian calendar, it's the holiest week of the year. So as she said, so for those of us who practice and used to practice this wonderful week, I have a couple of jokes in there.
I've been curious.
Yes. Okay.
I already gave it the game club, so
So if we're gonna do any jokes, we're gonna have to drop them before Mama Ruth comes here. So let's go ahead and jump directly into our. Yeah. So let's.
Today.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you could drop a couple of. So let's go into our Barb's current event.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right. Well, so this is three Barb's current events. Barb's not here, but I think I have three good ones for us to kind of discuss. I always forget to do this. I want to thank Democracy St. Bernie for watching us. He is sitting here listening to this show. And of course, MAGA Baby Trump Pinata used to be called MAGA Groomer Baby Trump Pinata, but I don't want to offend anyone. Holy Week. So it's just MAGA Baby Trump Pinata who is listening to the shows.
When did you start practicing not offending somebody?
I'm trying to be kinder this week. So that's my So Lent, if you're following the Christian calendar, especially if you're Catholic or Lutheran or Episcopal, whatever, Lent is technically over. Well, will be over for you. Right on Good Friday. I have already forgotten how all that works. It's so complicated. So, all right. So here's the first current event. The Nashville shooter. I hate to bring us down from what we're talking about, but those who it had been over a week now when you watch this. But the Nashville shooter. There was a shooting in Nashville at a Christian school, a private Christian school south of Nashville, a very affluent area. That occurred here in the United States. And of course, Republicans have done their thoughts and prayers. I want to hear what you have to say about that in 30 seconds or less. We've talked about this second one for quite a while. And the reason I keep bringing it up, because I think this is something that people aren't paid attention to, but it will start to hit other states because it is a phenomenon. Inside the rural Texas resistance to vouchers are to the GOP's plan to fund private schools and give more vouchers for private schools. The resistance is not only coming from progressives or people who want to save public schools, but it's also coming from rural Texas residents because they believe it will be the diminishing of their public schools. Those big football country schools in Texas, this is something I think is a very interesting, and they're seeing it in Texas right now. Last one. I don't know how appropriate this is with this topic, but we're going to jump in here. OnlyFans released a study that said the states that are the horniest are the states that ban adult content and want to erase LGBT plus people. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, all of those wonderful, South Carolina, all of those states.
Good Christian
according
states.
to the OnlyFans data. Yes, the OnlyFans data. Now, this is interesting because, Jenny, this coincides with the porn sites. They also have the highest porn sites visits as well. So those are the three Barb's current events, very diverse. I don't know how you're going to handle this one, Jen. So go ahead, 30 seconds or less.
Well, I'll get straight into the main event, which is the porn survey by OnlyFans. Here's the thing. The more a group of people thumps the Bible or rattles the saber of Islam or whatever, the more religious they are, the more horny they are. Because religion equals oppression. And every religion has something to say about sex. And so they oppress themselves by adopting the religion and then wonder why there's so much horniness. I'm like, you can't, like, that's how we got here. Is sexuality. I mean, we're all here because the two people that created us had sex. I mean, for the most part, it's, except for artificial insemination, but the majority of us came from at least a moment or two of, having intercourse. That's how biology works. And boom, we're here. Mine was military leave around the holiday season. And anyway, so it's not shocking that more highly religious states also have tremendous amount of porn watching.
Yeah.
And typically speaking, every porn survey I've ever seen, and of course the real big one, they released their previous year's most watched in each state. Southern states, more conservative states, tend to watch a lot of queer porn. And
yes. The type of porn also. That's right. Mm-hmm.
The top three, almost every single time, is lesbian porn of some type, trans porn, and BBC porn. And it's not British broadcasting. So in the middle of one, so there's a B and a C on the other side. So you just figure out how fetishized and twisted that is that former slave states love the BBC porn. So that's a whole Freudian episode. That's a Freudian episode that we should do. I may do that on Two Queers next week.
Oh, you're right.
Well, that could take over a show literally on the psychology of that.
How about Texas schools?
The Texas schools. So here's the thing. All this public schools social engineering stuff is all designed to eventually give Republicans the biggest cash grab in American history to privatize schools. When you privatize schools, they need to be profitable. What has to go away? What services, what programs have to go away for them to be profitable? And at some point, because we found this with private prisons, the services in private prisons is atrocious. The conditions are atrocious. Even the employees complain because they have to cut costs to make a profit on a normal, typical government service. And public schools is part of our government. So what do you have to give away? And people don't think about that. They think about, these businesses will run the schools better and there's a lot of waste and all this. Not necessarily. And on top of that, what's got to go away? And I guarantee those really expensive West Texas foosball programs probably going to be first things that cut at some point.
Exactly.
And go to the cheap sports.
Mm-hmm.
Or they'll have professional cornhole teams and stuff like that, kickball and things that are just not expensive. Yeah. Doesn't require stadiums. Not many people can come watch a kickball tournament. That sort of thing. There's just no way around it. Plus we're going into a cyber sports world anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the good thing about it is that if they privatize public schools in Texas and Florida, two big football states, they're going to fuck bells. And I'm here for it. When all these rednecks go, my boy can't play football anymore. His manhood's ruined. He's probably going to be a homosexual now. And, we'll just emasculate all the rednecks and they'll
exactly
be pumping the tailpipe of their trucks and crying in the deal. So it'll be all right. And then
do you even want to comment on the Nashville shootings after those two topics?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
What a surprise that you pass anti-drag, anti-trans legislation and stir hate. I didn't see another mass shooting in that state. I can't say that they're related, but sure shit probably didn't help. We also had many politicians, including the congressman that serves that district, on his last Christmas card with a big old Christmas tree, which a Christmas tree is actually a pagan symbol, by the way. It's not even a Christian symbol. Pose in front of that with his wife and his kids, all holding assault rifles. The senator from the state of Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, got $1.3 million from the NRA in the last election cycle. $1.3 million. And she's sending thoughts and prayers and is here to assist. How about not taking blood money? Let's start there. They just, in Tennessee, just dropped the requirements for licensure for open carry. Made it easier. So you served up mass murder on a silver platter. Wash your hands of the fucking blood and let's do something about these guys. Way, 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 way past time. We all know what the problem is.
Yeah.
If you put 400 million guns out into a marketplace in any country, doesn't have to be the United States, any large nation, China, India, Russia, anybody that has a massive population, and put unlimited ammo and unlimited guns out to the marketplace, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, that's yeah, I completely agree with you. The Nashville shooting, I completely agree with you. And I, that picture that congressperson took, and he's so flippant about what occurred. And, when they asked him about it, he said, well, I homeschool my kids, so, I'm not really worried about, and so forth. I mean, when you look at the picture, when I looked at that picture, I had the same thinking that I told you when I saw the Cal Cunningham picture and his family. There's something not right about that family. And they are not a pretty family. And I know I shouldn't say something like that, but they're not a pretty family. And this guy is, when you have a family like that, they're a very homely looking family and a homely looking wife. And then you have a guy who likes a lot of attention. Something's going to be watched. So he's going to have an affair with a drag queen or something. Something is going to happen. I'm telling you now. So it is
underage male prostitute like that. Okay,
I don't know. Something. I'm just saying. Usually, yeah.
And a guy like that.
Yep.
Just like that Oklahoma State senator.
Oh yes.
That got busted in the hotel with the underage.
Yep.
Male prostitute, male sex worker, having gay sex. The smell of weed was so thick in that hotel room that the popo, when they broke in, said just about gagged them. It was so obvious they'd just been smoking out and doing the pokey, and of course that dude's wife left him, and he was the same way. And why I bring him up is that his one of his campaigns was he was sitting in a chair, like Paul Kettle, with a huge, I'll be like overcompensating. I'm straight, like straight Dave off that one movie. He's holding a gun in one and got the bibble in the other.
Mm-hmm.
and he's just puffed out, and nothing says I'm closeted gay more
Well, that's
than when you have to ramp yourself up like some kind of little dainty rooster. I'm a tough guy. I'm a grown.
Well, that's exactly, Jenny. That's exactly the feeling I got when I saw that picture.
Yeah. Oh,
and then when I listened to him, I'm like, this is the same feeling. Call it gaydar, call it whatever you want to call it. You know, there's some kind of feeling. You know, mark my words, or as Jenny says, mark my words. You know, something will happen. Yeah. Yes. So, hey, with the Texas public school thing, like I said, I think this is this. We never, as a progressive, as a Democrat, as someone who supports public schools, I never really realized how you could align with certain people you never thought you could align with. This is something that Texas is figuring out. People who want to say public schools are realizing, because if you think about it, and the Wall Street Journal just did a polling that was released this last week, and the Wall Street Journal, very conservative newspaper owned by the Murdoch family, they did a polling that said that DeSantis is in trouble if he runs on woke ideology, anti-woke ideology, because the base of that party, they don't really care about that. It's the last from, and this article they talked about says, we're in Texas, where cattle outnumber in the rural areas 20-1 kids. No one is hollering about CRT, pornography in libraries, or drag queens.
Right.
That's not their concern. And so this is
because you have and because most of my family comes from rural Texas.
Exactly.
So I grew up in big cities. My parents appreciated big cities and were more, especially younger, more logical, more practical people. My mom's side of the family almost all live in rural areas and still do today. And knowing the mind of especially West Texans out there in, counties that have 20,000, 40,000 people in the whole county, where it's nothing but barbed wire fences and nervous sheep, they don't care about those big city problems.
Exactly.
They don't even really understand. They don't care about them. They tune out.
Mm-hmm.
They have a more pastoral life as far as they go to rodeos and 4-H shows and stock shows, and it's a lifestyle for them. It's why I don't, I've seen Brokeback Mountain, but when you live out in these remote areas of America, and especially Texas, there's a different daily life. It's so different. And I tell this story over again to prove how different rural areas are from metropolitan areas. When I first moved here, I moved into a county with my roommates that bought a house out there that's very rural. And the recycling center, and they have a recycling program, but if you want to take it directly to the recycling center, it's even more rural, because it's where the county dump is, where you can come and dump stuff and dump dead radiators and all kinds of other shit. So I thought I'd get my little car, and we just had an overflow of recycling because of the move. I thought, I'm going to help them out. I got free time and a flexible schedule. Take all this recycling over there. Googled the address, and I went over there. And of course, I get over there, and it's hard to find because the signage is kind of goofy and backwards. And so I pull up to this employee there, that's this youngish 20-something that's working there. Very rural, very country-looking dude. I pull up, and I was going to drop this off, and I was going into the city for some meetings. And I have a very flamboyant wardrobe. And I'm trans, and it's real obvious I'm trans. So I pull up to Jethro Bodine out here, and that's probably never seen a trans person, probably never seen a drag queen, probably has never left Union County. And he didn't know what to call me. Like, he didn't want to offend me, because I think he was just a big sweet kid. He was like, "How can I help you?" Like he was stuttering, because he probably normally would say "ma'am" or "sir," and he didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because he couldn't figure out if it was a boy or a girl. But this look, like in the movies when people see aliens for the first time, literally, if I had antennas sticking out of my head and my green skin, he probably wouldn't react to me. Right? And he's just like, what in the fuck is this? And it's to defend me. I just don't know what it is. And that's how different rural people are. I'm talking about regular people, not crazy preachers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but exactly. I'm just talking about everyday.
Not like the MAGA. Yeah.
Like this is just probably a beer drinking, like he probably drinks Bud Light, on the weekends, watches the football on the satellite TV, and probably doesn't have a smartphone. He probably has a flip phone. He's never, and I guarantee he's never been to a Pride event. He's never been there. He wouldn't even know what a Pride event is.
Yeah.
This guy's so checked out. And that's why most rural Americans are. There's a lot of the lack of moral outrage in I'm talking about the real rural areas with real rural people. They moved out there to get away from that. If they didn't grow up there, and they stay out there multiple generation because they don't want to deal with a big city. And so when all this anti-woke politics hits those areas, that's how they're going to turn from Republicans to Democrats. I agree. That's how they go from red to black real fast.
And you made a really good point, and we've gone way over on this topic, but I completely agree with you. And one of the things I think they have miscalculated, and we've said this several times on this show, that their strategy is not sustainable and it will backfire. And the reason is because you have elected officials like MTG, Laura Bobbitt, Trump, Matt Gaetz, who give the perception that they're MAGA people and they're talking to the MAGA base, which they've sold the goods, like we said the last time, that they represent rural America. They represent the crazy of the rural America, who happen to be very loud people.
See,
they don't really represent rural America.
MTG's not rural.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is that it's Dan Bishop's not rural.
She is a militant
suburban crazy person.
Yeah, she's a suburban carrot. She's the her story of her going to Walmart and seeing sex toys next to kids' toothbrushes, which is bullshit. But I got a whole other theory on that. But,
maybe her sex toy is a kid's toy. I mean, a toothbrush.
There's no telling.
Right. Exactly.
She's buck ass wild anyway. But she's not the typical rural American. And here's the thing. And this
30
is
seconds because we're way past our first break.
Okay. A lot of rural Americans converted to being Democrats because of Franklin Roosevelt and what he did for electrifying rural states, rural areas of states, and bringing infrastructure to rural America. That's it.
Okay. Oh, all right. Well, that was quick. The OnlyFans thing. Yeah. The OnlyFans thing I think was very interesting because we talk about it every time. We'll keep saying this. When people say something, they're projecting. So with that, we're going to take our first break, and we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after
watching and support local black and brown businesses, including our sponsor, Manolo Bakery. That has some fabulous pastries, food, king cakes, all kinds of specialty cakes, swallows, and much, much more. Some of the best food we eat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Manolo's Bakery, right here in East Charlotte. Thanks for watching.
That was a long one. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah. I'm going to edit that out. Hold on a second. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to Coffee and Pan Dulce. Hey, Jenny, let's talk about our topic. Are you ready?
I'm
okay.
I'm so excited. So when we announced our lineup a season at a time, and Christian writes these clickbait titles of these topics. And when I saw this one, first of all, I was excited because I was surprised you would have this topic. And second of all, for people that watch this show,
yeah,
and for the new listeners and viewers, I am atheist. I don't subscribe to any religion. I think religion's for selling, not buying.
Yeah.
And so I don't buy into it because I know it's all a crock of crap.
Sure.
And so when I heard this topic, I'm like,
yeah,
yes, I love this topic. I know that some people's asses are going to be on fire because of what I'm going to think. I'm locked and loaded like a Republican.
So if you have gotten through at least the first 28 minutes of this, imagine what the next 32 minutes are going to be like. Okay, so here we go.
Wrap in.
Was Jesus real?
Belt and a helmet.
That's right. So was Jesus real? And maybe Lightning will come down and Mama Ruth will join us, and it'd be interesting to hear this one. So I'm just going to read from you with the Google machine. I Googled, was Jesus real? All right. And then we can both kind of share our kind of take on what Google machine. Jesus's historic existence is generally accepted among scholars. The evidence of the reality of Jesus includes writings by historians, artifacts, and eyewitness accounts. The spiritual and miraculous nature of Jesus is a different story. That's what the Google machine says. Mm-hmm. Now, history.com says there is definitely no physical or archaeological evidence of the existence of Jesus. There's nothing conclusive, nor would I think there would ever be, says an archaeologist. And the reason they say that is because he was considered a peasant. And you don't ever find, or you rarely find evidence on peasants because they don't keep things and so forth. So this is the two theories. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, Jen, 3 minutes to tell me what you think. And then we'll kind of talk about kind of our both takes on that. So you go first. Just remember.
So Christianity was invented in the 400 AD era by a failing or a dying empire. Rome had run its course. By the time they did this, it split into two pieces. They used this manufactured religion that had sprung out of a lot of rumors and urban myths and things like that, and also some ancient teachings that go back about 10,000 years. And they took all these stories and amalgams and Noah stories and all these other made up stories, slapped them in one bag and called it a religion. But the structure of the religion, just like all religions, is designed to, keep a people together, maybe develop some type of moral code, some type of set of laws that'll right the ship. This was Rome's Hail Mary, so to speak. They're desperate attempt, and that's what you're seeing now. So you flash forwards, 1,600 years and some change, and you see Christian nationalists now really, really being super performative about God and guns. And religion always has a violent tenet to it. It's an enforcement clause of society. If you don't obey me as a human leader, I'm going to use the upper management of this universe, which is God, and God's going to smite you because you didn't obey me, more or less. I'm going to put some fancy stories in there and some crazy stuff and all that. But Jesus was real. Okay. The bottom line, he's a amalgam of different preachers, movements in North Africa and different parts of the Roman Empire. And you can tell because there's a lot of Roman symbolism in the New Testament, such as there's only 12 apostles.
Yeah.
And this dude was supposed to be drawing crowds of thousands, but he only had 12 assistants.
Well, maybe he had the Trump 2024 campaign with him instead of Trump.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, that was a bad joke.
I had the best.
There were thousands.
I'm super smart. I covered the whole Roman Colosseum. We had.
I'm sorry, Jay. I didn't mean to make. Yeah. Okay.
And we had We had toga parties and we had Roman baths, but it wasn't gay. There was no touching of penises. But truthfully, you know, this was written by Roman scholars and Hellenistic scholars in Greece, Rome, and this sort of thing. And so, you know, that's when Christianity was born. And that was 400 years and some change after his death. And so, as a completely manufactured book, the Bible is a completely manufactured. It's got some beautiful stories. Like the Psalms has some amazing prose and poems. And in itself, it's a pretty good read if you look at it as historical fiction.
Yeah.
Am I going to bow down to a book that is trying to tell me that God flooded the earth and jammed and crammed millions of species onto a wooden boat, life raft sort of thing, and I built it with me and my 3 boys? I kind of have to call bullshit on that. And a lot of other things in the book. And it doesn't make sense that a alpha and omega that controls the entire universe and hundreds of millions of galaxies would take myself, put myself inside a 13-year-old virgin to create myself. And it was conceived by myself with the Holy Spirit to make myself walk around the earth 33 years and then kill another version of myself and then bring me back to life 3 days later. Totally makes sense.
Okay. All right. And so this is one of the times we're going to take our second break, and we'll be right. I'm going to pause there, let people digest what you said. We'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. This is one of the times I wish we had Mama Ruth just to see her face on the corner there. All right, so here we go. Welcome everyone to Coffee and Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano with my co-host Jenny Gunn, and Barb Bacon, our other co-host, is not with us today. During the holiest week of the Christian calendar, this is our Coffee and Pan Dulce show. Our topic is, was Jesus real? You heard Jenny's take on it, so let me try to give my take on it. Jenny says all the time, she and I are good friends outside the show as well. I consider myself to be a person of faith. Now, what that faith is, I'm not exactly sure. And I don't care if it is something or if it's not. But I do I have faith. And that has a lot to do with how I was indoctrined as a child. I was raised Roman Catholic. Still, as Barbara says, we still sometimes suffer from the Catholic guilt in many ways, and that's taken a long time to get over. And I'm 50-something, I don't know how years old. With that said, I don't believe logically, and I know this is hard to say when you say things like logically, because I don't believe logically there is a God. I at one time, and so I go through kind of different things. Sometimes I do believe that there was actually probably a person named Jesus or Jesus or whatever the person's name was at the time. I don't believe that this person did all these miracles. I agree with you. I think it's the Bible is a book, a very interesting book to read. I think it was important. Like you said, there are a lot of countries, and especially the United States has been going through this. It allows people to create certain laws, create order. They believe they have create order. One of the things that I've noticed as we've gotten along is the necessity for Christian religion, because it is a young religion, is fading. And there's many religions, and there's always been religions, kind of as you said. But the necessity for religion in general, I think, is fading, because I do believe, and it's proven every day, just look at everyone's social media sites, you don't have to be a person of faith or religious to be a good person, however we identify as a good person. As a matter of fact, lately, over the last decade of my life, I have found people who are religious people tend to be some of the worst people that I know as far as how they treat other people. And then people who don't really focus on that tend to be more of the more compassionate, accepting. And that's really, if I did believe in it, that's the religion that I would believe in, and so forth. So for me, the Holy Week is more like a family tradition. I enjoy doing my family still does many things during the Holy Week, and I'll be going to Texas. Actually, when this drops, I'll be in Texas, actually, celebrating Holy Week. But, I do think that when I'm around people of faith, as a courtesy, I listen to what they have to say. Sometimes I agree. Sometimes, it's, to me, it is more of a courtesy to them. But I have found that, and I'm probably going over my 30 minutes. You can cut me off at 3 minutes, Jen. I have found that the people that I know that are really evangelical about their faith tend to be people that need it for whatever reason, whether it's to help with an addiction, whether it's to help with some things in their life. And to that, I have gotten a little bit of put off by, because these are people generally, and if you're watching this show, I apologize, but this is just my perception. People who are really involved in their church and evangelical about their faith, especially Christian nationalists, they're the people that don't always often accept personal responsibility for the choices that they've made in life. And it's so easy for them to say, screwed up on my marriage, I did this, I did that.
Are you saying conservative religious people are hypocritical? Never.
Very.
Here's
what I have found.
Here's the thing. Here's the bottom line.
Sure.
To me, I put this holier now, holy roller type people typically are also going to be MAGAs.
Yes.
They're typically going to be very performative. They're going to be big old green. And you could cite modern examples like the Boberts, you look at their life, you look at MTG's actual personal life, and it's dog shit. She's a dirty cheater. She's a member of the sex club. She's had all kinds of wild orgies and things like this. Her husband, she's had so many infidelities, her husband left her and divorced her. You look at the Boberts, he was a grown-ass man when he met her, a teenage Bobert. Got her pregnant, got her knocked up, she'd drop out of high school. Her son just knocked up a girl himself. 15-year-old girl, he's 17. Good Christian values. And this is somebody that's sitting in Congress, by the way. She's going to be a grandma at 36 years old. And I'm not, it is immoral. They're talking about not wanting to have sex education or explain sexuality in schools and especially with high school kids. She's going to be a grandma at 36. Her son's going around fornicating with younger girls, 15-year-old. And I don't want to get preached to by dipshits like that. And this is why, and if Christianity was so great, Christianity is so great, and this has happened throughout the ages. This isn't a new thing. Christians grooming and pushing their lifestyle on people, which they make the accusation against LGBT people all the time. Why do you feel threatened by the LGBT community so much? Because they're the ones buying all this anti-drag, anti-trans shit. And let's be the truth. If Christianity was that good, why is nobody wanting to adopt it anymore? Why are we the least amount of religious in our history of our country? Now that we're not force-fed this so much, because it's actually socially acceptable not to go to church and not to believe. Why are we down to 40% of Americans attending church? And just a generation ago, it was up in the 70s.
You know what they'll say?
Why? Yeah. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't give a shit what they say. I know what they're saying. It's a crock of shit. People know religion in modern societies with any kind of brains and any kind of critical thinking that they are also scared of, knows that people can get out a slide rule at a Google machine and go, this is BS, because every Christian, big performative Christian I've ever seen, and every pastor that gets on TV is a charlatan snake oil salesman. And let me tell you,
yeah.
And people are tired of it because they know there's no value.
Mm-hmm.
That these churches are all about power and money.
So I'm gonna do a Jenny Gunn here.
Okay.
Ready? Here we go. All right, Jenny, I'm gonna push back just a little bit on what you said.
Okay.
That's a Jenny Gunn. Those who watch our show, that's a Jenny Gunn. I'm gonna push back a little bit on what you said.
Okay.
I do think that so like to me, because this is a lot has to do with kind of my upbringing and how I viewed things. I can see the value of people who are coming towards the end of their life here on earth, of wanting to be more spiritual, wanting to be more religious and reflectant. I can see the value. So growing up, I can see the value of my grandparents being religious individuals because they were being reflectant on their life and so forth. And I see the value in that. And I see the value of someone who maybe needs that self-comfort. Some people go to support groups, some people go to churches, some people go to like meditation. I can see the value. Some people drink. I can see the value of self-medicating. So to me, religion is like a self-medication. There's a value to it in certain times of a person's life. To me, where I raise the red flag is when you are a capable, I'm going to do the conservative part of me, when you're a capable, able, working, thinking individual who has access to the Google machine, has access to all the things that technology has to offer, and you are thinking like someone who is at that level, who's coming to the end of life. That, to me, starts to border the line of delusional. When you actually think, if you're 50, 40, 30 years old, more the younger evangelicals, those are the people, yes, those are the people that I start to go, all right, I'm going to just kind of be, and we've always had those people. We've had them in our families. We've always had those people. The difference now is we never let those people run with scissors. And now we're letting the MTGs, the Boberts, those kind of radical Christian activists actually have positions of authority. And that's what's scary because they're not all there.
Well, it's not completely true. We can just see them do it.
Okay. Yeah.
We have 24 access to their lives. And when you have the ability to say whatever idiotic thing you want to say on a social media account, 24 hours a day, you can access it and you can say the stupidest things and the world's ever heard because there's no editor. You're not saying it to a news reporter and then they're deciding what gets printed or what makes it on the air. And what kept a Reagan or a Nixon from looking like the racist, homophobic dogs that they were is because there was an editor that erased the N-bombs and the homo bombs and the
That's
F
a good point, Jenny. The editing is no longer there. Yeah.
There is no fourth estate. There's no journalism.
Yeah. There's no filters anymore. Yeah.
No, because even the journalists themselves have to be sensational to compete with the very loud voices of social media and people self-publishing.
Exactly.
I can go right now and self-publish an article or a blog or anything now. There's so many platforms. It's not even funny. Even Jackass Trump has got his own platform called, ironically, the Truth Social. And so when you can self-publish instantly I can tweet and it can be seen around the world. Everybody that has a Twitter account. There is so much power given in the power of free speech with these massive platforms. And so there is no litmus test. There is no deal. The good side is it's unfettered free speech. The downside is it's unfettered free speech.
Exactly.
And so it's based on how intelligent the people that are receiving it and how they'll use it. And religion, and this is one of the reasons religion is dying, is that we've seen in the modern era, we've seen in the ancient era, that there is no value to religion.
Yeah.
There is no, the comforting part. Here's the thing. If you're getting towards the end of your life and you're reflecting and you've been a shitbag most of your life, or you've got all these regrets.
There's been a lot of really good people that, yeah. I mean, there are good people that reflect.
But go into therapy.
Sure.
There's therapy for a reason. If you're reflecting and you're feeling guilty about something, there's also people reflecting and looking back, with joy on the accomplishments and the life too. But they typically don't turn to religion.
Well, and that's
George Carlin or somebody like that towards the end of his life, he didn't all of a sudden become religious.
That's what I was gonna. Yeah, Jenny, that's what I was going to say. The two things. You know what? Before we do that, because we'll end the show on this one. But if you like what you're hearing from Jenny, she has a lot more to say. And she does have a show that comes on 30 minutes after this one every Wednesday. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. And this next commercial, we'll be talking about her show. We'll be right back on Coffee Pan Dulce.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And Jenny, finish your thought. Then I have two comments before we start finishing the show. And this is the Pendejo Chronicles.
Is that you can tell how the Bible's written, that there's a lot of opinions and a lot of editorializing, and the Bible has been rewritten every year for 1,600 years. That's number one. The Holy Scripture's not really stayed on track per se. The Christian movement, the Christian cult, whatever you want to call it, when you base it on fiction, it's going to change over time. There's not a holiness to it. There's not a morality to it. It's based on opinion and whims, and quite frankly, how a certain group of conservative authoritarian people want to weaponize it.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody gets some kind of calmness or whatever out of it, great. There's a lot of books that can give you that too.
Yeah. Well,
where I take exception, and this is the biggest thing I have for me, is the moment that we take this serious and try to inject it into public life, force it on people, weaponize it, which Christianity and all religions get weaponized by governments, political movements, and so on and so forth, because they assume that they have moral authority.
Yeah.
No, you don't, because your authority is based on a fictional book. All religion is fictional. There's no such thing. All their teachers probably didn't even exist. And if they did, they were way different people. And I use the example of George Washington.
All right.
George Washington was
30 seconds. Yep.
That lived 245 years ago in some change. And who he really was in history are two different things. George Washington was a shitbag. He was a horrible human being. He owned slaves. He murdered multiple indigenous tribes for sport. He was a horrible, horrible human being. This guy didn't pay any of the veterans that fought alongside him in the American Revolution. None of those wounded warriors, none of them got paid. And George Washington knew they weren't going to get paid. They let them fight 7 years in his Continental. So, but when you read about him in the school, I can't tell a lie, and I chopped down a cherry tree. this really glossy deal. He's almost like a religious figure. He's almost sacrosanct.
Mm-hmm.
And the founders of our company were evil white dogs of human beings. These guys were not good people at all. Like they would be, if they were here today, they'd be members of the Proud Boys and they'd be QAnon and all this. These were not good guys. And so they take these historical religious icons, they morph them into some sort of version of George Washington and Donald Trump or something like this. And you go, you can't take it serious. You just can't take it serious at all.
I mean, I think what you've just I think what you've described is one way to look at it, and I wouldn't agree with all the things, but then that's how you view it, and I completely respect how, from your lens, that's how you view things, and maybe that's like when I say I'm a person of faith. That's where my faith comes in, is where I say, okay, because I don't have that life experience that you have, so I'm going to accept what you're saying as this is how you view things. You know what I mean? And I accept that. This is where I see the danger between Christian nationalists and evangelical religious people. They don't have that ability. They don't have the ability to hear what you say, hear what I say, or hear what someone else who doesn't agree with them. They automatically say, well, you're just wrong. I'm going to tell you how you feel. And that's where I think one of the reasons.
Full stop. Full stop,
sure.
Christian.
Okay.
They choose.
Yeah.
Not to use logic. They choose.
Yeah.
To peddle fear and violence. And
exactly.
Let's not gloss Christian nationals. What I'm afraid how your words are going to get twisted is an assumption of they don't have the ability to. Now that's horseshit. No human is programmed. No human's born with violence in their heart. That's a programming thing. And they choose violence. It's not natural for humans to be violent towards each other. So they're choosing to use fear and intimidation. And I'll tell you what will prove my point. And there's the difference between faith / opinion and actual fact. There are not roving bands of queers calling themselves straight vanilla boys going out kicking the shit out of people and going to churches and threatening to burn down their churches if they don't disband. And I'm equating that to drag shows and church services. You don't see a bunch of progressive queers going on and doing that. But we have these homophobic, down low gay men running around calling themselves Proud Boys and showing up to drag shows with fucking guns and hiding faces and all that. And that's Christian nationalism that's doing that. That's put the driving force behind all these groups. Calling Trump Jesus and all, the second coming of Christ. And, he's holding the Bible upside down and all that. But here, that's a huge difference. And that's fact. That's not opinion. That's not my opinion. We watch it on the nightly news where these Proud Boys are blowing up power stations here in North Carolina. They've attacked people. It's a violent movement backed by Christian nationalism. And the Christian church, even the good ones, look the other way. They're not even taking exception to it. And I guarantee you, I just know all the queers and how they are. If there was a high percentage, like 30% of our community going out committing violence in the name of queerness in our movement, our political movement, we'd do something about it. We'd police it because I would take exception. Now, you have nothing to do with our community, and I'd be going after them in court. I'd be making sure they're getting prosecuted. You don't see Christians policing other Christians. They either look the other way and are an accomplice because they're looking the other way, or they're part of that movement. But either way, they are fueling that movement. And that's I think you're no. I don't think we're any different in what we're saying. I think that maybe because of how I have been programmed and my
my family, how I'm wording it, I think is obviously coming across not as passionate as how you're saying it, but I think listening to what you're saying and how you're describing it is exactly how I feel. I think what I'm saying is I think what I'm saying is that there is obviously a large population in America that feels exactly what you're saying, exactly that, which is the reason that there is this falling of attendance and rolling the eyes of evangelicals, rolling the eyes of us looking at them. So what you're saying,
if you've got any horse sense at all, let's say you're on the fence of religion.
Sure.
And at one time in my life, I was very much so. And I've had, I've wrestled with this myself.
Sure.
But the biggest thing with me is not so much the belief side of it. I don't give a shit what my beliefs.
Yeah.
Just don't try to take over the country with it. This is my country after church. So to speak. My issue is that I don't gather up a whole bunch of people from Charlotte Pride and start knocking on those doors and go, "Have you seen RuPaul today?"
Sure.
I don't knock on people's doors and badger them with the first book of the queerness, trying to force them to go to drag shows. And those freaks do. Those freaks knock on my door. They push the agenda. They push it into the Republican Party. They push it into secular life. They're encroaching their freedom of religion and trying to force fuck it into society. And there's where, and I'm getting, as a community, and as so many communities have been targeted by Christian nationalists over the history of our country, it's a little sickening. And that's the truth. And if Christianity as a business, as a part of our society, doesn't want to clean up its act, then Christian churches need to be closed down. They need to be closed down if they have pedophile priests working for them, and they don't continue to do that. They should lose their license to operate, just like any other business. If you had multiple tech companies like Google and Amazon and all this, repeatedly molesting kids and raping women and committing all these problems, and Amazon and Google was covering up, at some point that hand me the keys to your factory, you're done.
Let me
look the other way.
Sure. So, hey, Jen, let me interrupt you. Do you mind if we go over just a little bit?
Yeah, we can go over a little bit.
Can you? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Is when you're repeatedly having crimes against humanity, literal crimes, and you're promoting violence and you're promoting cruelty, and you're actually putting hate bills into legislation that become hate laws, where you're promoting some sort of segregation or targeting their medical, like in Texas, there was a ruling that this company didn't have to pay as part of their insurance plan, and then to pay for PrEP, which is a medication that keeps you from getting HIV. It's not a vaccine, but it's pretty close. It just keeps the HIV from ever connecting into the body. And on religious freedom grounds, that is promoting, the owner of the company says promoting gay sex. Well, keeping gay people alive is promoting gay sex, because ultimately if they're alive, they're probably going to have sex, like all humans do. It's like saying, I can't, because of my religion says I've got to hate Christians. So at my company, I don't want to pay for any Christians' medications because it's promoting straight sex. Straight Christian sex. It's promoting straight, multiple generational, of Christians and Christian nationalists, which is a wacko premise.
Yeah.
But your freedom to practice religion is just free speech, but they've turned it into I can't practice my religion, and it hurts my religious practices if a gay person's still alive. Sure. And how we got there is this pounding of moral fake authority that they have, and telling people we have the right, we're entitled to this.
Yeah,
you don't.
Well, and I think, I think what you're saying is no different than I think what most people, at least we know from the data, most people are thinking. They're not saying it like you're saying it, and I'm not saying it like you're saying it, but I would agree with you. And that's the reason I have been saying that this Christian nationalist, all this hate legislation that you talk about and that we talk about all the time on the show, to me is incredibly unfortunate, because I just, for me, I think we need like this balance. There's this balance of people of faith and people of not faith, and you can coexist, because to me, that's how you have kind of more harmony. Problem is, the pendulum has swung so far this way. The only natural reaction is going to be more people. So if you are a person of faith, more than I am, let's say if you're a person who attends church regularly or is an evangelical Christian and so forth, and you're really concerned about why people are not coming to church and so forth, what you're saying,
but full stop
is
right
why people are not
right
coming
there.
to church.
No. Full stop right there. Why is it your fucking business?
Okay.
Why is it your fucking business that I'm not attending church? Why is it your fucking business if I'm a man married to a man? Why is it your business? Sure. There's the problem. It's not a both sides issue, Christian. That's where you're wrong. You're intellectually stunted on that idea that it has to be balanced. It has nothing to do with balance. If you're some fuckstick sitting in a church worried about drag queens or gay men or trans people, when it's none of your fucking business. There's nothing in the Constitution, there's nothing in the Bible where Jesus himself said, well, when you're sitting in my house, you need to be worried about homosexuals and drag queens and trans people. In fact, it says in the Bible, I'm quoting the Bible, more or less, don't throw stones at glass houses. In American English terms and modern terms, it says, mind your own fucking business, worry about your own house, worry about your own group of people. And this is the fundamental problem that I think you're missing. Is there's
I think you stop me every time before I can even finish my sentence. If you allow me to finish the sentence, because what I
and it's not both sides.
That's not what I said. What I was saying was that I can understand why there is this backlash. I'm not verbalizing it maybe the way I should, but I can understand why there is this backlash. And when I see the data that says only, it's under 50%, we know that much, are people who consider themselves, I can understand why. And the reason is exactly what you're saying. The reason is because most people who have access to information are saying exactly what you're saying. The reason that people aren't going to churches is because you're in my business. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what I'm saying is that. So all of this hate. Well, hold on. I let you finish. Let me finish what I'm saying. To me, all of this hate legislation is going to bring even more, because people are saying, listen, I was on the fence about being a person of faith or going to this church, but now that I see what y'all do, that's not what I want. And I think what you're going to see is over the next 1 to 2 years, because you still have legislation, being proposed, you're going to see a backlash even more than what has been occurring. And so that's kind of what I was trying to say, is that most people who maybe aren't as passionate as you and I, who aren't as engaged as you and I, they are not, they're looking at this, and they're looking at you, they're looking at me, they're looking at family members that are evangelical, the family members that go to church, and they're looking at them and they're going, listen, if you were sitting next to me speaking in tongues or talking, quoting the Bible or doing this, and you were drinking, I would just say that person's drunk. But when you do it and you say it's because you're religious, that's crazy. And that's my point. My point is that that most of America, whether a rural area or whatever the case may be, they don't want that in their life. They don't want the crazy people being in control. So what I'm saying is, I agree with you, Jenny, exactly everything that you're saying. And the unfortunate part is, and I also agree with you, there are people who are saying, I don't understand why the Catholic Church doesn't come out and speak out against, if you're pro-life and you're Catholic, why aren't coming out and speaking about saving the lives of gay people, trans people, of young people. That is where the hypocrisy comes in. And I think that's being noticed by people who are younger than Generation X. And I think what they're saying is, they're not vocalizing like you and me, but what they're saying is they're going to tolerate their parent and so forth, only because they are rolling their eyes at them and going, I'm not going to say this in front of you, but when you walk away, we go, they're kind of crazy. And that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. And I get that part.
I didn't want you to think that I was trying to justify, what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what the conservative right says, is that it's on both sides. Yes. It's on every. It's not just religion, but everything. And it's not a both sides problem. And they try to play the victim. Christian in general try to play, say, oh, well, we're persecuted. You do the persecution.
Exactly.
You always have. That's the problem is that the narrative that goes back 1,600 years, they created these persecution narratives and these really big whopper of lies, when in truth, they weren't persecuted.
Yeah.
They never were. And but they adopted a language of this victimization to draw some sympathy, and Christians do that. And I noticed the really evangelical, real puff out my chest and blessed, highly favored type, Christians that just say it in public, and you go, well, how do you know?
Yeah.
Did Jesus give you a call and say, hey, you're blessed and highly favored today? It's kind of a wackiness of trying to compensate for something and convince themselves that there's some kind of, and I've heard people say, I'm a big Christian, and I'm a super Christian, I'm a super conservative, I'm a super MAGA. It's the same type of person.
Yeah.
That's very insecure about themselves, probably very insecure about their sexuality and a whole lot of other Freudian things in their brain. And you see that type of sucker and loser that gets sucked up into these cults like QAnon and the MAGAs and the Proud Boys, because all the people that hit the Congress on January 6th, all those people were suckers and losers. Sure. They were all idiots.
Yeah.
Let's just say it what it is. And these are the same kind of Christian nationalists that think they're doing the right thing. And I think they believe it. I think they really believe it, because you have to really believe this. This has to be on some kind of level of faith, because it ain't on logic.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're going to go out there and get yourself whipped up into a big old sissy frenzy, and listen to the orange orangutan about listening, and you go over there and you tell them, and and let's hang Mike Pence because he wouldn't do what I want him to do, and you just go and you just storm, that's your building too, and you just go in Nancy's office and shit on her desk and steal some laptops and stuff, because we know about Hunter's laptop, and it gets so friggin' worked up. You have to be in some kind of cult to buy into a lot of this. And where Christianity is, and conservatism in general, this is where these authoritarian movements go to die. Because we felt the same way about slavery. A certain amount of people in this country said it was against God, it was against the natural order of things to free black people. And they had all kinds of cockamamie ideas about black people. We can't turn them loose. It's unnatural. They're not fully human. You know, they're more animal. They're too primitive. Their brains are too small to be, you know, they vote. They can't just live amongst us freely. Sure. And it's the same arguments they do against queer people and anybody else. And you know, people of color coming over the southern border and so on and so forth. The same cockamamie white Christian nationalist argument. And I guess in general, why I dispute that Jesus ever existed and Christianity,
which was the title of the show.
And Christianity, you know, is one. If there was an all-powerful Christ and all-powerful God, they sure have been sleeping on the job for 1,600 years since they started this branding. How can you be all good and all powerful and you watch what's being done in your name? For one, when I was a little kid and a child that was born of war, my dad's a wounded warrior. I could never justify what happened to my father and my grandfather that fought you and say, well, how does this exist when back in the ancient times, quote unquote, God was very active and burning bushes and flooding the planet and nuking Sodom and Gomorrah and
suddenly disappeared.
All these proactive things, and Moses was, you know, doing his, you know, his water show, his little water show. And we're seeing all these really cool, kooky, crazy things.
Turning water into wine. You know,
Jesus is hanging out with the 12 straight guys.
Every day. Yeah, exactly.
Every day. And washing each other's feet and, you know, which is what it is. And sleeping together in tents out in the woods and wandering around for 3 years and no real accounts about what was going on in those times. Yeah, exactly. I'd love to know that story. Probably smoking some funny things. And now nothing. Radio silence. Yeah. Jesus doesn't send me flowers anymore. He doesn't call. He doesn't, literally
just have faith. Just have faith. Just that's
lots of prayers. And the only ones that still have the modern saints is like the Church of Latter-day Saints, which is problematic in itself with all this misogyny and child marriages. And we see all these modern religions popping up and how way off the kilter they are. And I go, there's so much proof historically in all this and in modern times the religion itself, and I'm saying all religions are cults, all religions are power plays, they're structures that take advantage of people. That's my biggest problem with religion, is they warp people's minds to the point where you see things like January 6th happen, you see the Jonestown thing, you see all these different insane things, and then you look at a modern movement like the LGBT movement. And you see it based on love. You see all the tenets that are attributed to a Christ figure in the LGBT, truthfully. And you see the beauty of it. You see the beauty of Black Lives Matter, that they're standing up and saying to the world that our lives matter, that we shouldn't be needlessly shot in traffic stops and have it put on our back for 9 minutes, and that we shouldn't be slaughtered and we shouldn't be redlined, forced into poverty and in the fear of violence and all this. And you see these progressive, beautiful movements just for people just to survive.
Well,
we as LGBT, we don't want to. Yeah. We don't force our theology or opinions on anybody. I don't force anybody to be gay. I don't go to a straight bar and go, you need to marry a man and you need to do it right now. And it's righteous. If you're not having gay sex, there's something wrong with you. And going to my legislator and trying to tell the Democrats in National Congress, I'm not calling up Alma Adams and Jeff Jackson, go, but we need to make a law to eliminate all heterosexuals. That, heterosexual marriage is unnatural and weird, and homosexuals need to run this country. I don't know how quick they would hang up on me, but they'd hang up pretty fucking quick. But that's literally what the Christian nationalists say, is that a man can't marry a man, a person can't transition, you can't even perform drag now. Yeah. And it's such a threat to children, as we're watching kids get shot in schools, is how much worse can you make Christianity look?
Sure. Well, and that's I completely agree with you, Jenny. And I was going to say that you kind of stole my line here. That was Jesus real? To your point, in the holiest week of what they consider the Christian calendar, or whatever, so forth. If Jesus was real, he would not be happy this week, because those people who are supposed to be promoting his word have done a really shitty job. People are leaving the churches in droves because of what the people that are following him. And another point, kind of what you said, I do think that there are a lot of people, and they're not vocal people, but there's a lot of people, obviously the data is showing that we all have that one person, two people, some of us have more, who are born again, who are evangelical, who are church people, so to speak. And as we have gotten older, I'm going to use this word, we've tolerated, because we know that they need those things in their lives. The problem has been over the last decade, like I said, and this is where I think the backlash is going to start to come back. They have started to believe their bullshit. And because they actually believe their bullshit, they're starting to, like any politician, once you start believing your bullshit, you become dangerous. When people who are religious or evangelical or churchgoers start believing their bullshit and start trying to force other people to believe it, that's when we have to push back. I think it's kind of what you're saying, is we have to push back. And we do have to be willing to have that uncomfortable conversation and say, I'm sorry, but what you're saying sounds a little crazy. Yeah. Because it's not the first time they've heard it.
It's like that one.
It's just that we're not saying it enough to them.
You probably remember in the 1990s, the one that was the bald-headed lady. She shaved her head. She lost like 200, 300 pounds.
Sinead O'Connor.
The workout career. The one that
that's correct. Yep. That's right.
And literally, we need her back here again doing infomercials and go, except we need to aim it towards Republicans and just say, you got to stop insanity. Yeah. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and not getting and expecting a different result. And whether it's gun control, whether it's religion trying to push its way into secular life, is that we have too many examples of the alt-right just pushing a narrative to the point to where they're making it law. They're interfering with people's lives. Yeah. And then saying they're all about the Constitution and freedom. And we let them, that's where we have to do the full stop and go. Yeah. As progressives, as Democrats, as independents, as people that believe our life needs to be as interfered with as least as possible. Yeah. The one pushback we need to in public discourse and not allow to have them slip this in is we got to say there is no such thing as religious freedom as far as pushing your ideas on. You can talk all you want. You can sit out on a street corner of the church or in your house or down by the river. But the moment your beliefs, your personal beliefs, try to interfere with my life, no matter what it is, then there's a problem because you're not entitled to that. And when they co-sign to this bullshit, they also develop a high level of entitlement. And there is the issue when you're telling me how to live, when you don't want to be told how to live. And it's the same equivalent. The moment I see a band of roving queers wearing kind of rainbow holy robes, knocking on people's doors, trying to push queerness on people, which would just be insane. But it's the exact same thing.
I think I don't know this because I don't know this, but I think only because I'm going off of what I read and what I've heard. I think that's what they, in their delusional minds, they think that's what drag queens, that's what gay people are trying to do. That we are trying to force ourselves into their lives. And this is where I see the flaw with their lives.
Well, that's where the grooming comes from. This is where they're saying the teachers are indoctrinating kids to be gay and trans. That the schools are endorsing being LGBT. That one fake rumor about a North Carolina school actually putting litter boxes and teaching kids to be furries. All kinds of crazy. I don't even know where that came from. But what they are saying, you're 100% correct, because that's where I was going with that language, is that the other side that actually grooms people and preachers that molest little boys and all kinds of stuff, they're the actual groomers. Because they're projecting. They're projecting what they have gone through. These baseless, wild accusations. And I said this on the other show, on the Two Queer Show. All these hearings about drag queens and trans people and all this, they make all these wild accusations with 0.0 evidence. I've seen it. I've gone to some of these hearings. And I was in Texas when they were doing the Texas version of the bathroom bill. And they didn't have one witness prove that trans women, they were targeting trans women specifically, not trans men. Trans women going into public facilities like changing rooms and bathrooms, primarily bathrooms. And that there shouldn't be public accommodations for trans women is what they're saying. And on the premise that we would assault women, cis women, that we're groom them, that we're going to snap little kids and all. No evidence. Never had anybody up from law enforcement. They never had a study. There was no proof that trans people in general have a propensity towards violence any more than anybody else. And it was just insanely preposterous. When the only people they had testify were predominantly religious people and pastors. And this is my whole point, is that all the craziness is coming from Christian nationalist movements saying we're the groomers, we're the danger, with zero proof. They never pulled one teacher in or one school administrator in Florida during the Don't Say Gay hearings and prove that grooming was going on in schools. There was never one book pulled out that said that this is the problem. And instead of banning that book, they're just banning all books in classrooms. They wrote these laws so vaguely. When you look at these laws, there's so many open spots, there's so many loopholes, there's so much vagueness to it. The schools now are afraid to do anything that could be construed. Like, they probably can't even paint the walls more than one paint color because it might look like a fucking rainbow.
Hey, listen, I'm going to make two statements real quickly, and if you can reply in 30 seconds, because then we do have to end the show, and I know I need to value your time. First thing is, do you think it's possible, think about this, and I'm being a little sarcastic here, but do you think it's possible that the real Jesus aligned Christian nationalists with MAGAs, like the Proud Boy kind of MAGA people and the QAnon people, purposely put them together because he was so mad at Christianity that he wanted to destroy it. And he's using all of this opportunity to destroy it so he can start all over. That's the first statement, kind of crazy statement. The second statement is, I think if that's not possible, 10 years from now, when we look back in history, this time of from Trump to probably in another 2 years will be the worst marketing thing ever to happen to Christianity, evangelical Christianity in the United States, because they've done such a terrible job of making their religion or making their club, their organization acceptable, that the only people who are going to be joining them are people who are a little delusional, or people who have to for some reason, for family reasons. But most people are going to be so delusioned by that brand that people will look back and go, what happened? How come we're now at 30%, 20%? And we can look back and go, remember all that stupid shit y'all did back then? That's the reason that people think you're crazy. So those two statements.
Okay, real quick. That'd be a really Machiavellian thing for Christ to do. So I'm kind of here for it. I just wish he would speed up the timetable a little bit. Like trick them into all jumping into the ocean.
Exactly.
And don't come back. It's the ultimate baptism. It'll work. It'll be great. It'll be great. I'm telling you, I endorse it. I'm even going to make an NFT with you all drowned.
Exactly.
I'll stop water in my eyes. Christianity and religion's on its way out in modern society. There's no room for it. And you're going to see churches go out of business, which won't make me cry at all. And religion itself, the way it exists without any kind of massive reformation and coming back to center and being on brand and not being of hate and creating hate movement, is the only way for it to survive in any kind of modern context and to become more of a social club and to be more of value to society and actually be more Christ-like, since we're saying this around Christ, is that if you actually adopted a lot of the good teachings of Christ has the book itself has some good teaching.
Exactly.
It actually could be a really good textbook, maybe except for like the conception story and some of the creepy stuff, but
the stoning
there's some really good lessons that I know as a kid. I thought, that was pretty good.
There's some good parables in there that
I was here for it for the chocolate candy and the celebration part of Christianity. Myself personally, I still love the chocolate eggs that you can get from Reese's peanut butter cups, but I don't think religion has to be all bad to stay relevant. I think when it is running at almost an all bad level is what's making it irrelevant. And they've got this chicken and egg type thing, is that they're thinking by promoting their brand, we have to be assholes. Yeah. And that may have worked in 1640 in England or 1420 in Spain, where the Catholic Church, for example, was all powerful, that rivaled the power of kings and queens of Europe. But if they would just take a step back and go, that was stupid then and it's stupider now. And people have enough brains to see through this, and this is why our religion's dying, and actually be self-aware and woke to their stupidity and the shit they've been shoveling for a while. And they actually got back to more of a peace, love, dope type Christianity. Little dude like Jesus smoking a big old doobie on the beach. It probably would sell. I just tell you that.
I think, I completely agree with you, Jenny. And I know we have gone way over, and thank you for going over with me.
Side of the Christian movement that's minding their own business and helping families and helping kids, which some of Christianity does do that.
Yeah.
And
Churches.
people like Wedgwood Church here in Charlotte.
Yes, exactly.
Massive food pantry with no qualification. Just go by and say, I'm hungry, and they hand you a sack of food. That's wonderful. Yeah. I'm 100% here for it. I've donated to them. I've donated to churches like that. I've donated to Wedgwood. I'm a member of Wedgwood. I'm very comfortable with that. And it's not because I got any religious beliefs, but it's because they feed people.
Yeah.
That to me is the most Christ-like thing I can pull from religion is when they go, I'll save lives. I'll help people. I'll be here for equality. 100% here for it. I wouldn't be a Christian, but I'd be an ally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
When I've seen those examples, and they're very few, here for it. All day, 7 days a week, won't ever say a thing about Christianity. It's the moment they knock on my door, try to intrude my life, try to take away my medications, try to take away my existence, try to take away all my wonderful friends' existence, take away your marriage. The moment that shit happens, call. I'm out. Check, please. Go fuck yourself. And if you want reasonable people to at least consider your social club, just be a social club. Mind your own fucking business. There you go. I started a new religion. First church of the
That's exactly right, Jenny. And what I was going to say is that the boomers experienced this with their parents. And there was a time in the 70s, late 60s, or 70s, that church membership dropped dramatically because they were tired of the hypocrisy of their own parents.
Yes.
And I think this is twice that.
Oh.
Because the Gen Xers did not learn from that. And the Gen X evangelicals, they said, oh, the way that we can promote Christ is by being more hateful, which made no logical sense.
Well, it's the militant side of all religions, which is all religions come from roots of authoritarian governments.
Sure.
Because of the time that those religions were formed, all governments were authoritarian. There was no democracies. There was no. It wasn't like Rome was a friendly place. Rome was a very brutal regime of torture and mayhem, and authoritarian religions born out of authoritarian times when there really wasn't an option to be free, have constitutions, or have any civil rights whatsoever. Is the fallback mode of all religions.
Yeah.
And what religion in general has to do, and I'm talking about all religions, is realize your stuff is weird and fantastical and unbelievable because it's not believable. If you don't evolve into something that's a more modern movement that says, hey, we want to help humanity, we want to be of service to humanity, then you're obsolete. We don't need this anymore. It doesn't carry. That's why the Baby Z's and the millennials roll their eyes on this kind of stuff and push back really hard against it, is because they have access to the Google machine. They have access to information. It's a very woke generations, and they're very they can think for themselves. They don't worry about what you and I are saying. Like if we were on the alt-right side of the ledger, they'd be like, oh, that Christian and Jenny, they keep thumping the Bible and they keep trying to get us to drink the Jesus juice. We don't want that.
Maybe we should do a show as characters promoting that.
Oh, I can easily do that. I can easily do a redneck. Because I grew up with them.
That's a great idea, Jenny.
I don't have to figure out how to sound all right. I've got enough of that trauma from my childhood and my adulthood and living in very authoritative areas.
Okay,
like
so
I can tell you, just like them.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up here, but I think we do in our summer shows we do need to do like a reversal show where we all play characters that are completely opposite than what we are. Yeah, and we can do Barb can be, the nun or something. So, hey, listen, if you have stayed with us, this long, thank you so much. And I'm sure that we will get some feedback with this show. It's been a really good show. And in 30 seconds,
for full disclosure, this is the ultimate clickbait show. I can just tell you.
That's right. So
none of them will watch that.
That's right. So, Jenny, where are you going to be the first weekend of April? Actually, technically, I guess it might be the second weekend because April 1st is on the Saturday. So, first full weekend of April, where are you going to be?
I am going to be observing Easter by eating some chocolate and peanut butter Easter eggs, laughing about it, laughing at Christians, and probably wearing I've got a Satan cheerleader latex top. I'll probably be wearing that on Easter Sunday.
Oh, good golly!
And I'll probably drive around Charlotte laughing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I will be in the great state once again. Yeah. Once again, I will be in the wonderful, great state of West Afghanistan in Texas. I will be back visiting family for Easter. And so I will, when you see me next, I will tell you, well, actually 2 shows, I think you will see me next when I'll be back. So the next show we'll tape from Texas. With that said, I do want to thank everyone for joining us. Have a happy Easter. Have a happy Holy Week. This is going to be one of the excerpts that we'll have to post. So let's dance out to music. How's that? Bye, y'all. See you next week.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching, and happy Holy Week or whatever goes by. Enjoy your Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Easter eggs, and be safe out there.
Hey, the after conversation was so much better than the actual show. So
that's usually the case. Bye, babe.
Bye, y'all. See you next week.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is 2 Queers in a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds great. You sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying to. All I have to say is go. Yes,
as a non-Spanish speaker.
Pan Dulce. We'll be right back in Coffee and Pan Dulce.
You're gonna edit that out.
Yeah, I know.
But here.
All right. Oh, hold on. Let me come back. So, because I have to edit that out. Here we go.